Welcome to the City Current Radio Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference, empowering the good. And we're kicking it off with Jeffery Johnson. He is the author of the book, Chasing Pro, Thinking Beyond Impossibility. So Jeffery, how are you doing, buddy?
Jeremy, I am well, man. This is a very interesting time in our world today.
Well, it's also a good time to talk about, obviously your book, but so many of the lessons from it, because you talk a lot about enjoying the journey, not just the destination. And so before we dive into the book, give us a little bit of your backstory, though, personally, because you've gone through a roller coaster ride yourself. And so you know the chasing the dreams, the journey, the destination, all this firsthand, but give us a little bit of your backstory.
So born in Miami, Florida, moved to Memphis when I was like 6 years old. And I got introduced to sports when I was in middle school. And in the book, it talks about how I tried out for the basketball team, but didn't have skill, didn't have experience. And I was just out there. And that failure was the thing that propelled me to the next level. It made me train harder. It made me work on my diet. It made me work on my school work, because I knew athletes had to have good grades. So, man, I actually just tore the patellar tendon in my knee at the end of March. And on the night of my injury, I actually was scheduled 10 weeks out to play professional basketball in Spain. And it's been my biggest dream to play professional basketball. And then I had one of the most traumatic injuries I've ever had in my life happen. So figuring out how to press on, how to endure the hardship has really been in front of me through this experience. Playing college basketball at Mississippi State and speaking and doing poetry. I just always had the opportunity to press on. But when you're hit with this traumatic injury, it's like, what do you do now? So that's what the book is gonna really map out, how to reshape your view of success and how to press on despite hardships and adversity.
Anyone who's played sports, I think, can relate for sure. I'm even thinking on my end, growing up playing tennis, put everything into that same type of story, blew my shoulder out. And it was a very crushing thing I've worked so hard for all of these years to then basically have it completely taken away from you in an instant. Right. And so I think with athletes, especially, you pour so much of your heart and soul working toward this goal. And then for whatever reason, it gets taken away and you're left soul searching, which is really, it's an important piece of yourself, obviously, in the journey to wherever you're going in terms of finding yourself. But it's also, too, one of those really important things that we all have to go through in life, just in terms of maturity. I think it's also, though, something that everyone can relate to when you look at the pandemic and kind of what's being forced on us in terms of, we think we know what we're doing, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, you get punched in the face, whether it's your business, your personal life, or whatever else, saying, no, wait a second, you're going to have to pivot. So my point is, I think everyone can relate to the core of this book. And so talk about that kind of premise of starting to enjoy the process, the journey versus the destination in terms of what you think you're ultimately after.
Right, for sure. And don't get me wrong, there are many gurus and social media influencers out there saying, put all your eggs and stake on the destination. Like, you got the nice car, you got the big house and the fancy trips, right? But no one likes to actually enjoy the process because it's painful. It hurts. Every day I go to therapy, I'm not really excited about therapy because it's extremely painful. But what I am excited about are the ability to walk, to drive, to play with my athletes that I train, to pick up my baby siblings, right? It's tangible things that I have to find joy in outside of playing on the professional basketball roster, right? I remember when I was finally able to sleep on my side because I could finally bend my knee just a little bit, I celebrated because it was it was different. I had to, just find small moments to not be discouraged. So for us, even in the pandemic, we can't necessarily focus primarily on that next step, that next thing, but make small incremental steps towards reaching our goals and enjoy those moments. Because even if I never step foot on a court again, like playing professional basketball, my routine now whether it's waking up at 6:30 to go to therapy, before work, go to work all day, get home, spend time with my wife, spend time with God, and then do extra therapy at home. That's a pro routine. Like, I am literally living like a pro athlete. It's consuming my entire day. So that's making me stronger by simply pressing towards this huge, impossible goal. And I don't know what people's goals are now, but if it's not big enough to propel you out of your tragedy, then you're going to constantly stay there.
Walk us through some of the key fundamentals that you lay out in the book, because you do have some fundamental tenets that you lay out in the book. And so tease us a little bit with some of those.
Right. So I've been a trainer for the last 5 or 6 years after I played college basketball. And especially now, we have to really hone in on the foundational building blocks to get us to the next level. And for me, I have 7 of them. They're not exclusive to all success, but I found in training kids, healing my own leg, just personal experience and not theory, that these 7 are pretty awesome. So number 1 for me is movement. And in every skill or activity, you have to learn the basic movement for that skill. If you're trying to public speak, you have to at least know how to be in front of a crowd, right? Like, you have to be comfortable with people. You have to memorize certain things. You have to study. You can't just jump up there and expect yourself to be this Bob Proctor or Eric Thomas. Like, you have to have certain kind of skills necessary for that thing. Another thing is balance. Like, I like to tell my athletes, like, if you're not balanced in your school life, your work life, your training life, then you're going to be off, right? Especially athletics, you can't focus only on your physical training and not study in school. It doesn't translate, right? Because you need to study in both. And in our personal lives as adults, we can't put all of our eggs in just working hard, but not taking care of our families, right? You have 2 kids, and you wouldn't be here happy and joyful talking about your kids if you weren't an outstanding dad. So that's what I appreciate about you most. The third thing for me is like mental toughness, which is typically the hardest for me. When you injure yourself, yes, you're going through a physical trial, but the mental aspect of the recovery process is so much bigger, right? Overcoming fear, dealing with anxiety. Stress is a huge deal because as an athlete, I relieve stress by playing sports. But the thing that I use to relieve stress caused me the most stress. So I'm sure people are like that in the world, where you go to this amazing dream job, but it's stressing you out each week. What do, right? Physical fitness. I truly believe that our body, our mind, our spirit is connected. So if we don't build our temples, our bodies, then they're going to deteriorate quicker. And COVID made that very, very known this year, these last 2 years. So we have to really focus on our health. And that is true wealth, in my opinion. The last 3 are more mental or psychological. I say character is a huge deal. Character / sportsmanship, like the person you are in public and private should be the same. And it's not necessarily about who you think you are. It's primarily who you were called to be. Like, if you are a jerk in private, you're going to be a jerk in public. You know, if you're going to be a team player in private, you can be a team player in public. And that stuff matters. Who you are matters. The last 2 is concentration. We have to be willing to shift our attention back and forth from equally important things. I like to say that multitasking is a myth, and you can't multitask. You can only switch tasks back and forth very quickly so that it seems you're doing multiple things, but you're actually doing one thing, turning it off, doing another thing. And then lastly is coordination, is how well you combine all of those elements together to be extremely balanced, because a person that's typically balanced, mentally tough, physically fit, a good high character person, has great movement and just a thrill to be around, will be a successful person, regardless of what industry you're in.
What's interesting, and I want to touch on a few of these and dive in a little bit deeper. One of them is the fact that our younger son and I were just having this conversation. Is he was asking me about why I'm doing like the healthy smoothies in the morning and, you know, what I'm eating. And he's like, do you really like that? and swimming 100 laps and things like that. And I said, it's not that I necessarily like that. Now I've come to like that, and I've come to enjoy making them and drinking them and eating healthy because of the way it makes me feel.
Right.
But my point is that the way I want to feel and the way that it makes me energized versus eating foods that don't, that's the decision that I make, right? So
Right.
I think for a child, it's really important to realize the sacrifices you make. If I eat unhealthy, it causes me this. If I eat healthy,
Right.
it gives me this. It may
Right.
not be the most enjoyable version versus the bad food, but
Right.
the way I feel is so much better. Same thing with going and working out. Like you said, it becomes the process. But once you do the process over a lengthy period of time, I love the process. Like I love
Right.
now swimming laps and going out there and grinding it out because of the way
Right.
it makes me feel.
Exactly.
What would your words of encouragement be for someone who is just trying to kind of make those better choices? Their eating habits, they're working out, like just trying to get that next step forward. What would your words of encouragement be?
I would say focus on one thing, like changing one habit. One small degree of change is a huge difference. Our air conditioner just cut off, and it's the difference between 1 degree, right? Ice cube can freeze or melt with the difference of 1 degree. If you start at LAX airport and you're trying to fly to New York, 1 degree of a shift will land you in Washington. So it's not these giant steps we have to take. Maybe you can do just one thing at a time to change. Let's say you want to really work out, or you want to really focus on your diet, right? If you put the oranges on the counter instead of in the refrigerator, you're more inclined to actually eat the oranges, right? It's a subtle shift that we can do to help start building these habits, and then you just compile them on top of each other. Now, instead of buying the Chips Ahoy at the grocery store, you're buying the oranges and the apples, right? Because now you're used to seeing oranges in your subconscious all the time. So little steps will definitely make a huge difference. And in the story, I actually want to tell you about one story in the book. It's called The Starfish Story, where there was this guy, he's walking along the beach, and in the distance, he see a figure of a person throwing things in the ocean. And as he got closer, he saw that it was a little boy throwing starfish one by one in the ocean. And he approaches the kid and say, "Hey, you do realize that there's miles of this beach and hundreds, maybe thousands of starfish on this beach. You can't possibly make a difference for them all." The little boy looks at him, bends down, grabs one starfish, throws it in the ocean. He said, "I know, but I made a difference for that one." And it means everything to that one starfish. So instead of the guy actually standing beside him, bending down, helping him save one fish at a time, he criticized him. So that's what we're going to deal with. When you try to change your behavior, people are going to criticize you. And it's going to be odd, but you have to continue making that one step difference to better your life.
What's some of the best advice that you've received from a coach?
Man, the best advice I've received, I would say, is you have to outwork everybody. And sometimes it can get really competitive, but if you know you're doing the best you possibly can do, you can only be proud of yourself. So I remember when I was at Mississippi State, I was the new kid on the block, and I was older when I transferred in, but everybody has been there for a couple of months, and here I am coming in. And I remember the way the practice gym is set up, the coaches' offices are like around the gym. So you can see who's in whose office, and they can see who's on the court. So I remember, going into the gym at like 10:30, and no one was there. And I'm working hard and I'm doing my thing. And I look up and I see 2 lights on, and I see coaches looking at me. And one of them said, "Hey, we see your work. It is not going unnoticed. So you just practice hard, like I said, in private, and you'll be rewarded in public."
What do you hope that readers take away from the book?
I hope that they see that the chase is very, very important, right? Even if you never reach that thing you're chasing, like the process of moving towards something worthy makes you a pro. And that's so important. So tell a kid who's 18 years old, just graduated high school, have no clue what they want to do in this world, just moving towards their passions, something like fashion or architect or sports, like just moving in that direction makes you kind of better than what you were before you started. So even if you never get there, you'll learn so much on the journey to improving yourself. And by doing that, you'll impact generations after you. Because if I didn't scratch the surface of training, which is what my shirt is about, I wouldn't have helped kids from five different states, hundreds of kids, because I decided to pursue one thing, which is teaching kids godly lessons, messages about life using basketball.
When it comes to prioritization and all the things, just like you're talking about on your end in terms of priorities, and even sitting down to write the book and carve out that time, what's one tip that's been helpful for you in terms of balancing everything and still being able to move forward?
Ooh, man, that's good. So I've been so excited to write this, like, because I've had so much time due to my injury, but I have to have self-control and not let this overlap, with my job at the church I work at. So it's all about discipline, really. That's going to be the key. Self-discipline. Will Smith says self-discipline is a form of self-love. And if you discipline yourself, like you love yourself. And even God says he disciplines those he loves. So I say discipline.
That's
discipline
good.
and balance. It goes back to number 2, which is balance. Right? You got to find that line. Love
it. Wrap up with website, contact information. Where do we go to get the book and learn more and follow your efforts?
Awesome. Well, listen, go to chasingpro.com. You can pick up a book. And something special about this book, I wanted to give back to the community, basically young people that has no clue or have no clue what they want to do in this life. They don't have a healthy sense of success. So my goal has been to create a campaign called Pay It Forward, where if you just buy one additional book, that one small thing, you can help me donate books to young people throughout the city of Memphis and further. So chasingpro.com, that's where you can pick up a copy. We also have a podcast called Chasing Pro. I know it's on Spotify, Google Podcast, where you can listen to interviews with me talking to other creatives about what does chasing their pro look like in their industry. And you can follow us on Instagram @_chasingpro, or my personal page. I'm silly at I am just Jeff, JUSJEFF on Instagram. And we have a good time.
Well, I love everything you're doing. I love just the positivity and how you are a role model for so many adults and youth alike. And so keep up the great work. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Jeremy. Have a good one.